Among the league of anti-flat earthers, MC Toon has an interesting claim that one can bounce radio waves off of the sun and detect them using radar. It is right here on his website, mctoon.net/sun. And it's not just him, but he appears to believe this because Science magazine said so, and because NASA said so. And he provides links to those sources. Let's take a closer look at this article from NASA. Briefly, one radar experiment is performed by transmitting a coded signal toward the sun for 16 minutes, the round-trip time, and then receiving the echo for the following 16 minutes. The average transmitted power is 500 kilowatts. Now, if you can't instantly see the problem with this on their globe model, allow me to spell it out for you. Let's start with the inverse square law. The inverse square law states that for a point source of waves that is capable of radiating omnidirectionally and with no obstructions in the vicinity, the intensity I decreases with the square of the distance d from the source. To say it more simply, waves weaken over distance. The farther a wave gets from the source, the wider the wavelength gets, and the shorter each wave becomes until it is no longer there. So NASA claims to have created 16 minutes of radio ripples, which they launched at the sun, which they claim to be 93 million miles away. The sun then returned those ripples, sending them back another 93 million miles, and then they listened to the echo for 16 minutes. That tells you that the inverse square law was non-existent in their experiment. And that isn't the only problem their claim has. The next major problem they face is deflection. Just think about it. The globe Earth's model's sun is not a smooth, flat surface. They claim it is an enormous ball of continuously erupting plasma that is constantly spewing out in all directions. So if the surface of the sun didn't deflect the signal in a random direction, that solar wind would have deflected the signal both on the way there and on the way back.
You're right. That's a fifth floor problem.
Not in my house. No. Not today.
And the next problem they would face would be frequency jamming.
Down scope! Down scope! Radar about to be jammed!
Always lost. Sir, the radar, sir. It appears to be jammed. Jammed. Raspberry. There's only one man who would dare give me the raspberry. Lone Star!
Though it would be tasty, radar jamming does not have anything to do with raspberry jam. Radar systems are used extensively in defense operations, from area surveillance and early warning to target tracking and fire control. Radar plays a critical role as the eyes for countless defense systems. Now, if we're talking about defense, that implies you have an adversary. And if you're using radar to conduct military operations, your adversary might want to prevent you from being able to use that radar. Radar jamming is a form of electronic countermeasures or electronic attack to interfere with the operation of a radar. It involves sending intentionally disruptive radio waves towards that target radar, which might oversaturate its receiver so it can't detect anything, or perhaps deceive it into interpreting false information. Either way, you're preventing that radar from being able to do its job. There are several different approaches for jamming radar. The mechanical approach is to scatter material that's reflective to radar waves around the area, called chaff, or send out other reflective decoys. That chaff and the decoys will reflect signal energy from the target radar you want to jam back at it. That clutters up the radar's view with a bunch of junk, which hopefully obscures the assets you're trying to hide from it. The more active approach to radar jamming is electronic jamming, where you use a transmitter to actively send high-energy disruptive signals towards the target radar to interfere with it. And that electronic jammer might use different types of signals based on the effect it's trying to achieve.
A single nuclear bomb is known to be able to produce something called nuclear blackout. Nuclear blackout, also known as fireball blackout or radar blackout, is an effect caused by explosions of nuclear weapons that disturbs radio communications and causes radar systems to be blacked out or heavily refracted so they can no longer be used for accurate tracking and guidance. Within the atmosphere, The effect is caused by the large volume of ionized air created by the energy of the explosion, while above the atmosphere it is due to the action of high-energy beta particles released from the decaying bomb debris. At high altitudes, the effect can spread over large areas, hundreds of kilometers. The effect slowly fades as the fireball dissipates. And this is just talking about one nuclear bomb going off. According to the Boston Globe, the sun is the equivalent of about 1,000,000,000,000 1 megaton bombs going off every second. And that noise doesn't dissipate. On their model, their radio broadcaster is a tiny speck on a tiny speck planet. Remember, they claim their sun is so big they could fit 1.3 million Earths inside it. That is like trying to listen to the sound of a pin drop in the middle of a nuclear death metal concert taking place on the other side of the world. Thank you for sharing this information on your website, MC-Tune. People really should be aware that NASA makes these kinds of claims. If enough people know about it, we can make this happen. Raise your voices, everyone! Together, we can do this! Abolish NASA! This message is brought to you by the Flat Earth Institute of Science. Thank you all for watching.